try to knock people out all the time.
Yeah,
Most
man.
Taekwondo tournaments, most of the fights are won by points. I won most of my fights by knockout. I was always trying to knock someone out.
What does it feel like to knock somebody out? Is it satisfying? Does it scare you at all?
It's shocking and it doesn't feel good. It never feels great. I would pretend it felt great. I'd be like, yeah, but meanwhile I was like, what the fuck? There was one time that I never recovered from. I was fighting this kid and I knew this dude was just a little slow, and he was doing some things and I was seeing some openings, and I hit him harder than I've ever hit anybody in my life. I hit him with a wheel kick, I hit him so hard I was limping for a couple days afterwards because my heel hurt from hitting his head, and I flatlined him. He face planted, he started snoring, and he never got up. They carried him off the stretcher. He was unconscious for half an hour, and they eventually carried him off, put him in a stretcher, brought him to the hospital, but he literally never stood up and walked around.
Let one genetic test occur, and the body with the bullet holes that they said was Hitler, and have said, and that's the narrative, that's the story, that's all the eyewitness accounts that are even in the vicinity of collaborating with each other, and corroborating each other's testimony. Like the closest version, because none of it seems to be very accurate, is that, okay, here's Hitler's skull, and when they did the genetic testing, it's that of a 35-year-old woman. So like, oh, well, this isn't Hitler, but they've said for the past 80 years that this is Hitler.
I will knock your fucking teeth down your fucking throat, you motherfucker! If you don't want to fucking be here, get the fuck out!
That's exactly what's going on with fat models.
That's it. I'm
People
proud.
are like, you're beautiful no matter what.
I have no problem with anybody.
But let's be real, nobody wants to be fat.
Nobody does. That's why I said it, man. Nobody does.
It's not true. They will pretend. I'm fine with it. But if I could give you a button that you could push and boink,
Be skinny.
all of a sudden you'd have this incredible body.
Yep.
Everybody would push that button.
But what happens is, man, we get in this world where it gets hard. The harder it is, the more you start to push back. And then it's not right for people to talk about. It's not right for, like, let's say you are fat. I was fat. That's why I talk about it. Go ahead and say something, motherfucker. I was fat too.
Osama bin Laden was so clear about why he hated America. And he was like, look, I hate you because you murder innocent civilians in the Muslim world, you prop up brutal dictators in the Muslim world, you prop up Israel, who mistreats the Palestinian people, and you have your bases in our Holy Land in the Arabian Peninsula. And then they're like, nah, he hates us because we're free. He didn't mention anything about freedom there. And then if you say that, they're like, well, are you defending Osama bin Laden? And you're like, no, I'm just saying listen to your enemies. There's a reason why he hates us.
You used to work at Area 51. When did things get weird? When did you realize, hey, like, this doesn't even seem like it's from this planet?
In the demonstration of the reactor working, where it caught my attention, this is technology that doesn't even exist.
What was it about this reactor that made you think that it didn't exist?
This was a small reactor about the size of a basketball on a metal plate, and when it was running, it produced a gravitational field of its own. Now this is something that we can't do. We can't produce any gravity. The only way we get gravity is from large quantities of mass. You can't make a gravitational field. Anyway, this device was producing that. And Barry said, almost like he was bragging, go ahead, try and touch the sphere. And I couldn't. It pushed my hands away, just like two like poles of a magnet.
Young, and this is back when they had books, you know.
What do they have now?
I don't even fucking know. Our library's still open. Who's in there? There's people trying to finger each other. Who's in a fucking library? Can you even imagine?
I guess
being in a
people that
library?
just want books.
Yeah, but
what about
still,
homeless people? Do they allow homeless people in libraries?
Yeah, can we just start calling them shelters? You know what I'm saying? And serve lunch.
I'd never heard of.
Well, you know what's fucked up? There is a real zombie virus that everyone is aware of. It's called rabies.
Yes.
Rabies. Rabies is a zombie virus for animals. I mean, they're not dead, but they might as well be. They're trying to get to you and bite you. They're trying to literally, their brain is hijacked. They're so aggressive. They're trying to bite you to infect you with the rabies. So the rabies has convinced these animals. The baboons hop a fence. The research. Oh, so here's these guys chasing them. They're running, chasing after the baboons. Hey, bro, get back here. What if that baboon just turned around and just fucked them up?
This is the bottom of the supply chain of your iPhone, of your Tesla, of your Samsung. I mean, I'm just naming those companies.
Right.
It's all of them, right? All of them. And here's what you need to know, Joe, about this video. I was the first outsider to get into this mine. This is an industrial cobalt mine where there's not supposed to be one artisanal miner. Now that's the term used for people who are just digging by hand as opposed to tractors and excavators. This mine, and I can name it, it's called Shabara. There's not supposed to be one artisanal miner here, according to the consumer-facing tech companies and EV companies buying this cobalt. Lo and behold, I walk into this place and this is what I see. There's more than 15,000 human beings crammed into that pit.
Do you know who Pete Parada is? Drummer of The Offspring. I believe he's their second drummer. He was kicked out of the band. He was fired because he had Guillain-Barré syndrome and could not get the vaccine.
Right.
So when I was a kid, The Offspring was my favorite band. I can play a bunch of their songs, all their big hits. And Ron Welty was their first drummer, so I'm a fan of this band. And then Pete Parada came in, I think this was in the early 2000s, and he plays with them for over a decade, almost 2 decades, or however long it's been. I'm not entirely sure when he joined the band. They fired him because he's medically unable to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
And it's like remorseless.
So many people take pride in that too. I don't need 8 hours sleep. I got 3. I'm good, ready to go, kick ass and dominate the world.
Men who sleep 5 to 6 hours a night will have a level of testosterone which is that of someone 10 years their senior. So a lack of sleep will age you by a decade in terms of that critical aspect of wellness, virility, muscle strength, sexual performance.
That's incredible. Wow.
There's a kid this year on American Idol, Joe. His name is Ian Tungi. He starts singing, and it's angelic.
Oh, I'll tell you goodnight, close the door. I'll tell you I love you once more. Time is gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just 2 grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. While you're sleeping, I try to make you proud. So daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid, it's my turn to chase the monsters away.
Is there a heaven? And it knocks 3 times, meaning no. And at that point, our 2 religious friends that were there immediately jumped up and said, we have to leave right now.
We had no idea why.
Why? What's going on? I'll tell you in the car, dude, just don't look back, let's go, let's leave. And so we walked out, we left, we got all the way to the car without anyone saying anything. And as soon as we got in the car, we're like, what's going on? Why do we have to leave? He's like, well, in the Christian religion, anything demonic or evil is supposed to basically disprove that there is a heaven in order, And so what they were saying is we don't think this is some spirit or something paranormal there. We think it was something that was trying to lead you away from heaven.
What the fuck?
Yes.
The whole world. I remember I was in Revere, Massachusetts. I was on an elliptical machine at the gym. And a friend of mine told me, you gotta listen to this shit. And I had a cassette Walkman.
Yeah.
So I'm there with a cassette Walkman on the elliptical machine, listening to Straight Outta Compton, going, holy shit. This is why. There was nothing like that before that. And I remember laughing while I was riding the elliptical. I'm like, these guys are out of their fucking minds. This is crazy. And then there was the Tipper Gore shit where Al Gore's wife was trying to censor rap music.
The PMRC, Parents Resources Against Music Council or something like that.
Ugh.
If you were born and right next to you, your mother and you both put on a watch at the moment you were born, and then you check that watch 30 years later, if you have a perfect watch, it was never out of time, your watch would have a different time than her watch because you have gone through time differently than she has, fractionally. Because how fast you travel, you experience time in a different way. The path you take in life, the different terrain you travel over the earth, all those factors play in to how much time has passed.
Total respect for furries.
Respect for the furry community. Look, I got the feet on and everything.
It's like Bikram fucking.
Yeah, it's very hot in here. If you can fuck with this on, you're an American hero.
McEnroe got slapped all over the lot when he said about Serena Williams. She's great. Serena Williams is great and all. But if Serena Williams were he said she's the best female player ever. And they were like, well, why not just the best player ever? And he's like, because she's a woman. If she were a man, she'd get her ass kicked. And everyone was like, no, how dare you? Right. There is something called the Universal Tennis Ranking. She would rank in the mid-ranks of college male players if she were a man. And Serena Williams had said 5 years ago, no, I never want to play with Andy Roddick. He'd kill me. She actually did this. There was a 200th ranked man in the world who she wanted to just warm up with, and they played a normal match for he won 6-1, 6-0. Right, and he was like ranked 200th in the world, and the only shock was that he dropped a point.
You know, people often wonder, why is it that we haven't been visited by aliens, right? This is a thing that comes up whenever you're talking about other life inside the universe. But the answer to that could be quite straightforward. Nobody out there cares about us because we're so ill-developed. We're so young on the cosmic scene that there's nothing interesting for them to find here on planet Earth. So to me, there's a natural explanation for why there can be other life out there, and yet they don't hang out around planet Earth, just the way we don't hang around an anthill to try to have a conversation with, you know, what's going on inside that particular structure.
Your story when those guys were following you and fucking with you, and you're like, hey, you want to come up to the dojo?
That was hilarious. Well, I'm walking on the street, and these two guys start fucking with me, and I'm not rattled at all. They just kept saying that I needed to give them money. And then, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go teach class.
Yeah.
You want to come up and watch?
Yeah.
Like, they're standing there in front of the Jae-Hun Kim Taekwondo Institute, and they're looking at me. They're like, you're teaching? I go, yeah, I'm a black belt. I'm teaching class. I'll fucking kill you, man. Leave me alone.
You want a few broken
Don't make me kill you.
There's something called the Osiris Shaft, which is located directly under the causeway between the Sphinx and the second pyramid. It goes about 100 feet underground. It's carved out of the limestone bedrock. It's the creepiest place I've ever been in my life. It's 3 different shafts, and you go down and you get to the 3rd level, which is completely dark and freaky. There was a side tunnel. Zahi Hawass himself, he's standing in front of this tunnel, and he says, it's yet to be explored. I don't know what's down there. They've since sealed it up. It's like cinder blocks. They sealed it up.
What?
Yes, it's the same thing. Like, they excavated the Sphinx, and there was always said to be tunnels under there, and there was no pictures ever released to the public, and some dude snuck down in there and took some photos. You can't see much, but what you know is that there are things that have gone underground in Egypt that, for whatever reason, Joe, is just off limits to the public.
What do dinosaurs have to do with all this? Unlike humans, who have been on Earth for a tiny fraction of the 186 million years that dinosaurs ruled the planet, the beasts were here far longer than we have ever been. In that long span of time, it's very likely that the dinosaurs have drunk all the water available back then. And then all the water available now is simply water that has passed through a dinosaur's kidneys, making its way through the never-ending water cycle. Do you remember salvia? And it is one of the most mind-blowing psychedelics known to man.
For 10 minutes, yeah.
It's fucking unbelievably powerful. Ari Shaffir did some on a podcast, and he lived an alternative life for 3 months. He had a family, he had jobs, he had friends, and then all of a sudden, he came back to reality. He just went into this place and lived another life. And he said that while he was out for 10 minutes, he lived like 3 months in a different world.
And then you have to wonder if that's the real one and this is the fake one.
Ah!